Ok, forse sentite il mio respiro. Va bene così. Allora, vediamo un po' se mi fa copiare i dati come volevo che mi li copiasse. Perfetto. Io ve lo pubblico un attimo qua sul Telegram, così che nel caso ve lo condividete. E
dove dovremmo condividerlo poi?
Potete condividerlo ovunque. Io per esempio provo a farlo su Twitter, che non so se ho Twitter collegato sul computer.
We have it also with the brand Diagonal or just your personal?
Sorry?
Is it your Twitter or it's like you already created the Diagonal one?
No, I didn't make yet the Diagonal Twitter. No, I didn't make yet the Diagonal.
Okay.
Which?
But it can be.
So now are we live on Twitch, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
It can be. Absolutely. Yes. So now, because I have another browser, which is amazing, because I can have Instagram from here. So I'm showing my personal profile, my personal Instagram to everybody. Perfect. I'm a genius.
To everybody. For the moment, just to me.
I'm a fucking genius. Vabbè.
For the moment,
Yes.
it's just me. Don't worry.
Next.
But in case in the future we shall have like a good basis of
You are fucked up.
Then yes, then it's better if you got this one.
Hai copiato cazzo link, mannaggia a te. Sorry for Italian swearing. Anyway, I published also on Instagram. Of course, personal contact on WhatsApp if you are interested. This is my WhatsApp. Let me see. This is the personal information. Fuck GDPR.
Maybe it's better if you do not share the screen. Or otherwise, I mean, just for you, Bob. You can
Just now. Exactly. I do. Just give me a second. Tuk. I'm sharing with some people on WhatsApp. I hope you can do the same. And what else? Ah, yes, this guy. This guy is a guy. It is a guy that I want to invite us sometime. And he's a very good guy. He has been almost in many different countries.
Now you can invite that person of last time, Alexander, that we were speaking. You were speaking alone with him on your private channel.
I've just shared the link on my Facebook profile, so maybe.
All right, we did some sharing too.
Someone will join us.
We'll see. This guy, I think he can be. If he has some time. This guy too. And let us know if there's somebody else. Okay. Anyway, I cannot waste all my time just sharing all this. We should do this before our live starts. Anyway, because it's the link of the channel. And they will watch straight away. They don't need the specific link as in YouTube. Okay, so let's move on our main topic. So before we start with reading documents, we can try to introduce ourselves a bit.
Yep.
Because anyway, the video will be on the channel. I think will be saved on the channel anyway. So there is anyway somebody can watch it later. So we can start from Ciro.
Yeah. So we know each other, so useless to say nice to meet you.
But think big.
Think big.
Think big.
So my background is in economics and finance, and I work in Luxembourg. I have a broad experience between asset management, insurance, and consultancy, and huge passion for crypto and blockchain. And glad to share with you this experience.
Okay, great. Then we have Davide.
All right, I'm Davide. That's easy. I majored in international relations field, and I had several experience, basically into the humanitarian field. I worked in Turkey, where I joined a project based in female fundamental gender rights. Then I went to Colombia, where I joined a project related to education, and then I came back to Italy, and now I'm a researcher. I'm an author for a think tank in Italy.
Do you collaborate also with a newspaper, with like a kind of international newspaper blog?
Yeah. It's actually it's more a think tank. Yeah, more than a newspaper. Yeah.
All right. I'm Antonio.
Last but not least, Antonio.
I'm the last. I have got degree in biological science. I got some international courses in other kind of field like sharks conservation biology, some computational biology, as well data analyst, many other courses. Even one on dinosaurs, if you are interested. They from University of Hong Kong. So yes, and I have online courses. Online courses. There is an online platform. No, hey, Hong Kong. Hong Kong, I would have died because of the pollution. The same. Even now, I'm doing some other courses. One with University of San Diego in genetic computational data, and of course, I have also passion about the online world. I've started the podcast in the past, blog, websites. Since my time in the high school with Ciro. Do you remember?
How can I forget?
The funny thing. And so this is a bit about me, and this is our project. I mean, this is just a project ongoing.
So we are all linked.
Oh, so we are all linked. But Antonio, now I'm learning new things about you. I didn't know about this course in the dinosaurs. Yeah,
is an ecology of the dinosaur ecosystems. It's very interesting and very intriguing because we have to understand that currently the ecology is one of the most wide biology field that we are investigating together with, of course, the bioinformatics. The ecology, it is not the ecologism, which is completely another matter, although in Italian we have this big controversy in term. The ecology is the study of the life and the interaction with the environment, but not the simple interaction. Not a simple interaction. In some way, is very similar to the economy, because anyway, the economy is the interaction of the human society with the world, with the environment, resources, and the organization of the human societies. It's the same thing in ecology, where we are trying to understand how the animals interact with the environment, but not only animals, also the plants and the microbes. This course was very interesting, was taught in English from a Chinese professor from University of Hong Kong. And it was very intriguing because from bones, because he started as a paleontologist as many others, and from bones you can really understand many things about the life of dinosaurs and how when they extinguished, so when they disappeared from the planet, other species have took their ecological niche, we call ecological niche, which are I can say some life specialization of the organism. Some organisms specialize in some things and other organisms in other things. But altogether, they try to don't fight each other, to don't get their niche on top of each other, and they try to combine all of them. For this reason, you have complex structures that, of course, we know now as trophical, as the trophical webs, like the eating webs. Okay, the food webs. And anyway, is the matter is very complex, also because you use a lot of algorithms and a lot of statistics. It's not much different from economy for some aspect. I mean, when you have to check the indexes and the connection between things. For example, also some laws that are applied in economy are applied also in ecology. There is a yes, the how you call it? Is the cycle of. Oh my god, there is a kind of theorem about the cycle of the economy that
But
you applies in the same way in ecology. Now I cannot recall it. But
you ever studied this like during your studies at university? It was like an external.
after
After.
university.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, after. No, I keep specializing. I am a person that is quite interested in these things, and I think sometimes it helps to keep your mind, awake, working, and also it, it brings curiosity to your life. I mean, we cannot be people without curiosity. We are not human if we are not curious. So the humanity, I think, is defined by curiosity. Is what
And that's
led
why
us
we are
to.
here. That's why we're here, the three of us.
Exactly. So this is the reason why Diagonal is a good project where we can start and from where we can make much more. So making people feeling curious about the news in the world, but not only specific topics, many others. And I think is the best. Is a very good idea, especially now, because sometimes in the modern world we are full of information. We are getting boomed by information. Seriously, we are getting boomed from information, and this information bombing, is not good for our mind. It breaks our capacity to get curious and to also to distinguish
To go
what is
deep into the
true.
problem, to the issue,
The issue is the extreme amount of
There's,
information,
because actually there is a lack of analysis,
also a lack of analysis, but also there are too many information. It's easy to get information now, and it's also is easy to get false information, real information, and something in between, some real and some fake information,
But,
because
the
they are
truth
not
is in the
analyzed
middle.
properly. Many information are in the middle. Yes, many information are in the middle. So this is, I think, the project Diagonal. I think was a good start for making things in a proper way. I
It's a
mean,
good start.
I mean, even for us.
Still in the present.
So exactly. So we decided to start with a very strong topic to face, which is the Ukraine war, and I mean, it's complex to make it. But anyway, not today. We won't speak about the Ukraine war in detail
Well, more or
because
less.
we cannot. But we will try to have a specific approach with a source. So we have a source that Ciro has provided us.
It's raining.
It's raining.
No, because there
No,
was
no, I
a
think
there was a noise.
she was moving
It was
something.
like
Yeah,
grandine. I don't
No, I
remember the
think
name in English.
it was plastic.
Oh,
that's plastic. Okay,
How to
recycling.
fake effects? Yeah, that's
Recycling.
important.
exactly.
So
Anyway, we have
let's
the.
make like an excursus. So what we have to discuss today?
Yeah.
Also,
Among the
what
Don't
do you
miss
think,
the
Ciro?
point. Otherwise, we will be talking about everything.
Whatever.
No, we have to be straight to the point, and
Yeah.
if we
Straight
want
to
to
the point.
analyze, make opinion, is up to
So
us.
Yeah, I think
I
it would be good if we share, the text. I mean, the document
Yes.
no,
we
before arriving to
read
that
about,
document, I wanted to make like an
analyze.
excursus to how we arrived to this point, and I think that this website has made this report. Why? Because I don't know if occurs to you lately. One of the things that is mentioned the most is the crisis into the crisis that the war can bring, meaning. Um, the effect that you can have on the let's say food production, and in particular coming with Russia and Ukraine, the agricultural production.
Mhm.
So this is one of the main topic now, because also in geopolitical terms, Ukraine and Russia are one of the main distributors of agricultural products. Now we will see in details what happens if continents like Africa, for example, which depends on such supply, all of a sudden don't receive it anymore. We can have movements
Mhm.
of immigrants from many countries around the world, because maybe they will arrive to the point in which they cannot produce food anymore, because agricultural products are basic material that you use to, I don't know, feed the cows and have milk, meat,
Mhm.
uh, to the bread and all the derivatives of that. So, in order to, and I actually appreciated this website, Stable Price, has analyzed this situation. Why? Because the Russian invasion of Ukraine has a ramification, as I said. So it's not just about Russia invading Ukraine. It's something
Mhm.
which impact and will impact the economy all around the world.
Mhm.
So, aside from the humanitarian crisis, there is also the agricultural one,
Mhm.
and it will have a significant impact. Now, combined,
Absolutely, I agree with you. Also, because the Ukraine is used to now to be an huge exporter of wheat for industry, for the breeding and the factories. I
indeed,
think most companies, even in Italy, where we are huge pasta manufacturer, will experience some issue to this lack of wheat on the market. I mean,
indeed. But consider that combined, Russia and Ukraine produce almost like 20%,
mm,
20% of
mm,
global barley and rye, over 15% of oats,
mhm,
around 14% of wheat, and
mhm,
a whooping 60% of the world's sunflower seed.
mhm.
Guys, 60% of the global demand for sunflower seed.
Yes,
This is
sunflower oil is used everywhere, especially also in industry, not
by
only in the cooking or in the restaurants and hospitalities, but yeah, a lot is used in industry in many industrial processes.
And I
Um,
don't know if you ever tried, but for example, here there are some shops that sell the sunflowers, the one that you can eat like chips,
Yes, I
and
know.
the one that you have to
Even
break
here,
it.
it's very clear.
It,
Here you
you
can
need to
find as
break
well.
it to have such a little seed to eat,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
the
it's
sunflower
very
seeds. Yeah,
tasty, very
yeah, yeah.
tasty and oily. And you have all your hands which become black because you need to break all the little seed, and then you have
Mhm.
this
Absolutely.
extremely little thing which is very tasty.
Mhm.
So, as I was saying, combining Russia and Ukraine, they are the main exporters of these products, and we're
Mhm.
talking about huge percentages. Now, this report in particular looks at the reason why the region of Ukraine and the region of Russia, let's say the macro region, are so important for this. It outlines the market context and gives a view on the short, medium term impacts on the global supply. So what we can do now is to look at the document itself
Okay, we have the
and see what
document
it
on the
says.
side, so if you can open on your computer, maybe you would be
I
able
have,
to read as well.
yeah.
So we can start from the start.
The
Um,
importance of the region. So let's start
okay.
analyzing why both Ukraine and Russia are significant players, like is mentioned in the report.
Mhm.
So if you look at the chart, you can see you
Which
have in
wait
the.
second I can. Ah, okay. So you go. You don't start from this part, no?
I made already the excursus. Let's say I already
Ah,
made a
okay.
kind
All
of a
right.
preview of what we are
Of
about
okay, okay,
to
perfect. We
disclose.
have the.
So we see in light blue, like turquoise, the Ukraine, and we have in I don't know which kind of color it is, but it's even lighter blue, Russia. And you see,
Mhm.
look at Ukraine. Look at how it's actually, except for the oats, in which the oats and the pork, milk and cheese, in which it's only Russia that has a much higher rate.
Mhm.
For the rest, Ukraine, and we are talking here about global export, global export.
Mhm.
So basically, the entire world, for the 60% it allocates on the sunflower only between Russia and Ukraine. The entire world, guys.
Together.
It's mind blowing.
Mm.
Um, and now imagine all this kind of product. Now,
Mhm.
how many things you can produce or let's say derive from these kind of products
Mhm.
in terms of meat, as I was saying, and whatever it comes from the meat, and you can
Mhm.
and the way in which you can use it.
Mhm.
Now, what does it tell us? Ah, okay.
You wanna
Now,
read as well? You wanna read as we can?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. We can
Russia is.
start the importance of the region.
Mhm.
All right. Importance of the region. This is the first part of this report. So it says both Ukraine and Russia are significant players in various global commodities market. Agriculture. Combined, they produce almost 20% of the global barley and rye, over 15% of oats, around 14% of wheat, and a whopping 60% of the world sunflower seed. In such markets, they are key exporters. Risk and disruption to which are likely to have wide-ranging impact beyond the market themselves. In fact, Ukraine is often dubbed the breadbasket of Europe. This is the chart that has been exposed by Ciro, where we
Uh,
have barley, corn, butter, cheese, WMP. I don't know what is it. So down here it says Russia is also a significant importer of a number of fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. Should Russia deploy counter-sanctions, such as took place in 2014, many of the top imported fruits and vegetables could be impacted. Nearly 20% of the world's apricots are imported by Russia, while
wow.
15% of tangerines quinces, peaches, and cherries are also imported. Crucially, 10% of global buttermilk demand comes from Russia, while they also import 7% of the global butter. The loss of demand for those products, which are listed more extensively below, could reduce demand globally and alleviate some pressure on prices. This is the second chart. Ciro, you can give us a little quick overview of the second chart on
Yeah,
the next page. Let me see. Yeah.
that's, for example, something that I haven't heard on the newspaper or on the news in TV. They were only concentrating on, let's say, the whole, how's it called, the wheat and the barley, the corn. That was the main focus on the news. I particularly so appreciate this report of Stable Corporation, because actually it's the first time that I crossed this link, and but I think that from now on I will have more of an eye on the insight that they will share, because this is a very thorough analysis. And indeed, now I think that it's the first time, because I never heard that we are sharing also about this kind of fruits. We are still talking about global imports, and here, even if it's less than 10%, but let's remember that we are talking in percentages which are impacting globally. There are tomatoes,
Yes,
tobacco, but
absolutely.
those are all but very important products. We have them on our table in a
Would
way
be
or another
interesting.
every
Would be
day.
interesting to notice. Would be interesting to know from which country they import them at most.
Yeah, true.
As this would be interesting. For example, for tomatoes, I would guess could be easily from the South America, from some of Spain that has a huge agriculture production. For olives, maybe partially Turkey and Greece, and maybe a bit of Italy. For buttermilk, I don't know. We should really understand where we can find some extra information about. Those information come from FAO, from what I can see.
Hmm.
Then
Well,
we have the last part of the first part of the. Oh, sorry. Tell me, you want to
le-
say something, Ciro?
yes, what I'm thinking now, like just speaking out loud, if we think about the biggest producer of products which somehow derivates from one of these basic material, I am sure. Let's imagine, for example, a very, very big tomatoes producer in Italy. Now, the demand for tomatoes in Italy is so huge that is
In fact,
important.
we
It's
import
impossible.
from Spain.
Exactly.
We import from Spain because we cannot. We have not enough agriculture production of tomatoes to supply the internal demand. We import them a lot from Spain, and a good part of the canned one are from Turkey, and
Hmm.
another small part, very, very, very tiny bit, from United States. But most of our tomatoes, apart the local one where we have some excellences, like for example, the Pomodorino Vesuviano, the tomato from Vesuvio, San Marzano, especially in our region, the Campania. But most of the tomato for industry, it comes from Spain, where it's cheaper, also because Spain they produce more tomatoes than everybody in Europe.
For example, in the global, let's say, scene, no, one could never think that Russia import about 7% of
Mhm.
the global bananas, because one could think that bananas come from South America. Now I'm wondering to who Russia export bananas. I don't even imagine Russia to have a climate to grow bananas.
Mm. But of course, it's normal. In a global world anyway, global economy, global import-export between countries. Anyway, I was checking, I made a little mistake before. I was checking the data from the European Union about the tomatoes production right now from the website. Checking on Google, the first result, it comes from Statista. It shows us Turkey as the first producer of tomato in the world, actually in the Euro area, with 12,000 in thousand of tons, so which will be like 12 billion of tons of tomato. Italy is the second one, and Spain is the third one, which is but not the difference is not huge. It's just 1 billion tons. Anyway, this is the information from the European Commission, and those information are updated to 2018. I think there are also more information in 2020, and we see here the case. It shows also the price and the variation of the price during the year and the production of tomatoes during the year. And actually, the Spain has more months of huge production compared with Italy. So although Italy has a production of tomato that is quite low in winter and quite high in the late summer, okay. The same doesn't apply to Spain, where also the winter is a bit more hotter in some areas, and so tomato can be produced more. But anyway, those are there's also an investigation about the price and the price of and the statement of production. This would be interesting. Maybe I will share with you. Let me see if I can send you in private chat. Yes, I think. We have a friend of mine has logged in. Hi, Vitale. Vitale is in Praga. He was used to work here in Greece with me. And I think now he's working for an hotel booking company, something like that. And he would see the situation in a different way, especially the city of Praga, especially now with the recent election. Anyway.
So he's the first. He's our first, let's say, guest. It's our first.
Our first guest, yes. Vitale shared live with everybody, as we can, even not Italian speaker. And okay. But anyway, we can see there are many data. There are also data here from what I can see. The export winter campaign of tomatoes and the countries that have imported at most tomato from Europe is quite interesting for checking all the data that Europe has released here. So anyway, come back to our study.
It's good to take this research to make like further research, like to take this micro topic and expand the analysis in detail for things which I think it's nice to share.
All right.
I would have never imagined certain product that Russia has so big percentage of exports for certain product that for climate perspective, I would have never expected Russia to be such a big exporter.
But the interesting, no, it's not an exporter. Those data are for importing. Russia's top agricultural commodity imports. They import apricots, tangerine, peaches. The export was on top. One interesting paragraph of this first part of the study is the energy. Let me read this. Everybody could be able to.
Indeed, I was surprised about the bananas thing, because is it possible that bananas
imagine
go to Russia?
Putin is a banana fan, so he has banana trees in Siberia.
I will
Investing
have been surprised.
billion of gas, tons of gas to make it to make it happen. This interesting paragraph is about energy. Energy markets are also strongly associated with the region. Russia is one of the biggest producers of oil and natural gas, third and second, respectively, in 2020, according to the AEA. Europe is Russia's biggest market for its energy export. With multiple pipelines passing through Ukraine also has a significant fossil fuel reserves, most of which are in coal. So we are talking about the coal, the coke, the carbon, the carbon, no? That the Italian they call carbone. Generic carbone, but it's not the same carbon, it's not the same coal that you have in your little chimney at home, or the fireplace. Russia and Belarus are among the top producers of potash. What is the potash? The article shows us that is an alkaline potassium compound, especially potassium carbonate and hydroxide. Is used for agriculture. Is a kind of fertilizer.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it is because there is a reason why. I can give you maybe a little background about the biology of the explanation of why it's used. Russia was the top exporter of nitrogen in 2019, which is 17% share, and was the third largest phosphate exporter. Disruption to the global supply of fertilizers and associated price increase can have a knock-on effects on the yield potential of various agricultural crops. Which is true because actually all these compounds, potassium carbonate, hydroxide, also nitrogen, and in particular phosphate, are extremely important for the fertilization of the soil. Most of our plants, especially the legumes, they take a lot of nitrogen, a lot of potassium from the soil. In fact, many years ago, in the old world of in the old agriculture way, when you were making a cultivation of beans or other legumes, after that, for a couple of years, you won't make anything on the same soil because you had to give to the soil time to recover the sources. Now, of course, we have fertilizer, so we add them artificially to the soil because, of course, we need to have the beans in our supermarket. And not only, I'm talking also about the soya bean. The soya bean is another important thing. We don't think about the soya bean, but soya bean is extremely important for industry and also the breeding, the farm where they make the meat that we eat. Most of the food that has been given to our cow, pork, and chicken is made on soya beans, and fertilizer are used a lot in soya beans. So this can really be huge, as it says, a knock-on effect on the production in various agricultural crops. It's true. You really can affect badly the agriculture all above the world, especially in the countries where you have some very poor worker that cannot pay for them. And maybe you, Davide, you can give a little extra understanding on this, because you said you worked for some humanitarian organization. Is that true? No?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So, Davide, you can give us a little, just a little frame of how it works, the agriculture in some poor places, and sometimes how the poor earth workers they have to pay extra money, or they get underpaid and they have to pay the fertilizer and equipment for
Yeah,
making.
for example, yeah,
Yeah,
for
can you give
example,
us?
the war in Ukraine and all the sanctions that have been imposed to Russia will definitely have some bad effects for the South of American countries, which use the import lots of products in terms of fertilizants. I don't remember.
Fertilizer. Don't worry.
Fertilizer. Yeah. Fertilizers from Russia. So now it's I've heard that the agricultural market over there, has been severely affecting by the side effects of the sanctions. The problem is, of course, if you wanna stop the war, you have to try to put into effect as many instruments, as many tools you have. But in my opinion, some politicians, some international organizations that have accountability to take care of other countries that might be affected by some decisions. Well, I think they should have they should have thought much more carefully about the side effects that they could have bad impacts on other developing countries. For example, we are getting out of 2 years of pandemic, so these sanctions could be. The problem is we don't know if these sanctions will give us the results the outcomes we want. Like we don't know
Okay, on this one we
the
should.
sanctions.
But with this one, I think is a bit out of topic because although we know we will speak in the future about Ukraine, I would say, or I will take the occasion to say hello to Gianluc that is listening us from UK.
Hello.
Hello, and is a potash a type of fertilizer? Yes, but he's writing on my WhatsApp. Anyway, yes, it's a kind of fertilizer. Actually, maybe I can find better information. Potash
Before the
fertilizer.
sanctions, Russia
We
was
can
the
use
biggest.
this information. All this information that are shared into this report are good for us to make a deeper analysis. You see, out of products we have already
It's something like that. I've
discussed
written
it.
on. Wait a second. Maybe I can find.
And that's why we named this project Out of a Diagonal, because we take a topic and then we pass from the geopolitical side to the biology and the economical impact. Potash, did you share this?
Yes, on the
Is
banner.
it possible to share?
No.
Yes, we can make the banners. When we
Exciting.
want some information, we can give a little tip through the banners. Sorry for the little. Cheers for shout out. No, it's so funny. It's so funny. He's, for example, he would be very good to invite Jean-Luc in live because apart he is native English, so he will fuck us with his perfect English and
Well,
accent. Um, but also, he's a teacher. He has been a teacher. Now he's doing something else, and he's a very good, a very large experience, a very um, a lot of knowledge in this kind of things, especially the geography and also geopolitics in some way. So it will be very good guest to invite maybe for a discussion, and also maybe we can talk about the UK in some way in the role in this situation. Anyway, now
where we were
what
at
was
with
that one, Davide? Sorry.
no, with David, yes.
Yeah, Davide, he said the important things. The main problem is that one. If we are focusing on the sanctions, we don't know where we will go. Okay, we at the moment we don't know if those sanctions will have effect. And anyway,
Well, they are
considering
having effect. They
and
are having.
anyway they are having effect partially, marginally. I don't think on long term they will have the effect we want. I think this will be more, in some way, a little boomerang for the euro. A little
uh,
boomerang.
that's the
No?
effect I'm talking about, because when you think economically, you don't have to think on the short term. You need to think that what is impacting now Russia is just like the peak of the iceberg. But then, as you just mentioned, it will come back to us in Europe and most likely also in US. Everything that we block from their side, everything that up to now Europe has used, imported or exported to, it will have a huge impact on our economy.
Mm, I
Uh,
agree.
Russia now is already facing significant difficulties in order to repay long-term government bonds.
Mhm.
In fact, Standard and Poor's declared, it was Standard and Poor's or Moody, the rating agencies
Yeah, they
gave
reduced the rating.
already, yeah, they reduced the rating onto the default one, meaning that Russia has a
Did
big, big
I knew that a
possibility.
few days ago they had to pay part of their debt, but they couldn't pay in dollars because their dollar funds were blocked. Did have been they have been able to pay? Have been they able to pay?
But no, and that's the ironic part, because Russia will have because they have reserve, because they prepared for this war. It's not that
Mm,
they wake up from morning and say, oh, let's invade Ukraine. Who cares about sanction? They
mhm,
prepare the reserves of gold. They prepare the reserves of cash, not only rubles but also foreign currencies. But the first packages of sanction went
mhm,
hitting where they could not, let's say, hurt the most, but yet um, Russia now has the potentiality, the liquidity to redeem to the investors, but they can't. And so
mhm,
basically, the risk of the default, it doesn't
mhm,
come from the fact that, as per now, Russia doesn't have the possibility to repay the long-term government bonds, but it's because they are blocked from a currency perspective. So basically, the kind of sanction, if they keep increasing, if they keep tightening, uh, they will drive Russia into default, even though now, as per now, they still have the liquidity to repay debts.
mhm. Okay, on the link I've shared now, even that you can see there, actually is an article from CNN Business, which says Russia has defaulted on its foreign debt because it offered the bondholders payment in rubles, not dollars. Credit rating agency Standard & Poor's has said Russia attempted to pay in rubles for $2 denominated bonds that matured on April 4th. Standard & Poor's says in a note on Friday. The agency said that this amounted to a selective default because investors are unlikely to be able to convert the rubles into dollars equivalent to the original due amounts. Okay, this makes sense, of course. Here it says also, according to Standard & Poor's, selective default is declared when an entity has defaulted on a specific obligation, but not on the entire debt. So actually, the Russia risk a selective default, not an full default.
Yeah.
But if the Russia use the yuan instead of the dollar to pay the debt, and then the China offers to pay the debt of the Russia as the China has made with the United States in the past, can be a solution.
Yes, but what we need to think is where we are going with these sanctions. Are Because so far we have scratched the surface.
Mm,
Okay, it's like we pinched them.
mhm,
But if we really want to be serious, we
mhm.
will start blocking the transfer made out of the biggest bank that are in Russia. Because for the moment, the ones that are being touched are not so big. Now I was looking at the comments of
Check,
Italia.
check the comment. We can try to give an answer to this one. Comment on Biden ridiculous sudden change of of opinion on the effects of sanctions.
I am not aware about his change of heart, but I mean, it will not be the first time that Biden changed heart about something. In 1997, he said, let's not continue with the expansion of NATO towards Eastern countries because otherwise we will undermine the peace with Russia in 1997. And now it's a completely the
And now
opposite
we are
side.
fucked up.
So I will not be surprised. I'm reading now for the first time that he changed his heart.
I think Biden is more interested in another kind of geopolitical scenario. First, they have to focus on Made in USA 2030. We have to understand that China in 2020 is promoted another kind of huge state investment. It's called Made in China 2025, and they are about 90% of their pathway to reach the goals of 2025, which is made in China, which is being independent in terms of energy, being a leader in chipset manufacturing, being a leader in general manufacturing, and improve the exports. Uh, the export has been a bit stopped due to the situation with the Silk pathway, the new Silk pathway through the Europe and the East Africa. But China is very close to reach the goal to become a leader in chipset manufacturing. United States, on the other side, they have a huge issue with the chips manufacturing because most of the chips are made in Taiwan. And by 2050, Taiwan must come back to China. Remember that there is an agreement with Taiwan. Taiwan is free till 2050. So in 2050, we have to expect another maybe war in the area. And the United States cannot risk to have all their chips manufactured in Taiwan. Because if all the chips are there, their army is fucked up. Because we have to think that the chips are not only the chips of our computer or our phone, but also of weapons, drones, satellites, bombs, everywhere. So it's important that the manufacture of the chips came back to United States. So for this reason, they have made a huge investment of 2,000 billion of dollars in like 2 years or 3 years. For this reason, to take back all the factories that the United States has doesn't have anymore, like chips, metal production, increasing the agricultural crops. So this is important for Biden, and I don't think the war in Europe is a huge concern to the United States, because anyway, their main goal is to become strong enough to face the China in the Pacific Ocean, together with India, Australia, and Japan. This is their main goal. And Biden is always a bit ambiguous. He cannot be extremely a person that tomorrow says, "Hey, Americans, we go and fight against Russians." Because first, they closed the Afghanistan tragedy, because it was a tragedy. We can talk about the war in Afghanistan made by Americans was a huge failure of the American institution. So they closed the chapter of the Afghanistan not long ago, and I don't think most of the Marines and the army would be ready to fight again in Europe in the same way they made in Afghanistan.
Davide, what's your takeover on this situation? What Antonio said?
How would you reply to Vitale, Davide?
Comments on Biden is ridiculous. Well, as Antonio said, Biden will be playing an important game during the next midterm elections. So at this moment, he he has already taken a risk by imposing severe sanctions against Russia, because actually in the last few months the petrol price in the US has increased by 20-30%. It was around probably less around $4, but I wanna say something wrong, but it has increased a lot. So had this many negative. Didn't Trump try to restart industrial
Industrial
exports?
exports in USA
Yes.
before Biden. It's true. It's
Well,
true. This
the
is
problem
wrong.
is about Trump. We can say lots of things. I agree with you. The problem is,
He did. He started
especially
to make stronger the
there
American
was
factories. Yeah,
against
I remember
against
this.
Trump. There has been
I
lot
think.
of propaganda, in my opinion. Lot of propaganda. Many things he has never said. He has never stated. The Democrats said actually that um, he stated some things against women or against black people. In my opinion, and it's not true, because actually several black people, American black people, voted for Trump. An important percentage of the black American population. So, of course, Trump lost the election, in my opinion, most due to the side effects, the COVID side effects um, that hit the American economy. He had been trying to recover, since the beginning, since he took seat in the White House, and he actually obtained such an important result by implementing some politics, some measures. For example, he decided um, to put some tariffs on the if I remember, iron iron and
I have a data here,
steel.
which is very important. I think Jean-Luc was thinking about this one. In July 2017, on 21st of July, they have made a plan. This law order, executive order, is called Assessing and Strengthening the Manufacturing and Defense Industrial Base and Supply Chain Resiliency of United States. This one, it was one of the list of orders made by Trump on which one is based currently the project Made in America 2030. So the strengthening of the American factories. And I think Trump has made this clear. But Trump also has been elected by the part of the population that was tired of the United States as a police of the world. So they wanted to make this kind of strategy. And even earlier, later in December 2017, he made another important list executive order. It was this one. Was 20 December 2017 was discussed. I don't know if it's been approved because it doesn't say, but this is called a federal strategy to ensure secure and reliable supplies and critical minerals. This one, critical minerals, is also another way to say the one that we call in Italian terre rare, which are cobalt, and all the material that we need for making chipsets and high technology, and the same technology that we have also in the solar panel, batteries, and stuff like that. There are
Which now is a
actually,
monopoly of China.
in some ways, monopoly of the China.
Because they bought all the mountains in Africa which produce
Yes,
cobalt.
it's true. It's true. There are many list of executive order in this point. So I agree partially, although Trump was like a strange political phenomena that anyway in Italy we already experienced because we had Berlusconi before. His staff was quite good. I mean, in terms of making some crucial executive orders. So there are a lot of situation here. You can see making. So there are a lot. This is another one that is strengthening national resilience through responsible use and positioning, navigation and timing services. There are many, but then the COVID spread all over the country, and after a while there have been only executive orders about the COVID. Anyway, it's huge. He made a lot of work on this. And as well, the agenda of Biden has taken part of it. So I think because the war against the China must be fight via economical, and must be an economical war. Cannot be any military war anyway, because the China is strong on the economy. They can fuck your economy in 10 seconds if they want. So literally, maybe Ciro can give us a better overview about. Vitale agree with you. Vitale says political background represent mostly of stereotypical American way of thinking, of which America is only a country really necessary, as Clinton said sometime before. Yes, I agree. Also, the strategy of the late Clinton, when Clinton has been confirmed again, he had the same kind of view. Perfect. Hide. Great. Perfect. Davide, do you want to go forward with the stable documents, the report. Do you have the report in front of you?
Just a little thought, just to, let's say, close the discussion of Trump, which I think it's one of those topics, discussing the internal and external politics of US. So Trump belongs to those controversial characters of the modern politics, but in the history of US, how many presidents do we remember that have been under impeachment? Me personally,
Nixon, there's a
I,
Nixon.
in fact, I was about to say, me
Nixon,
personally,
Clinton,
I remember Nixon under the scandal of the Watergate. But you see, even though, for example, also Nixon has been maybe trapped, who knows, into the scandal of the Watergate, you always have these controversial characters which manage somehow to win the elections, and then I don't know. You see, for me, it's difficult to judge the character of Trump itself. Why? Because for me, I should live there to understand how the politics, internal politics, impacted on the country.
I'll give you a nice interesting overview about it. The impeachment has been asked for many presidents. Before Clinton, we had Andrew Johnson impeached in 1968, then Bill Clinton, then Donald Trump, that had two impeachment, one in 2019 and one in 2021. Those one have been presidents that have been impeached, so where the Congress has approved the impeachment.
Mhm.
Okay. Then we have the president that have been subjected to impeachment process, but they resigned before it ended, which is Richard Nixon, one of the most famous that we almost know. There have been other presidents under investigations, not a formal impeachment. For example, James Brunchen in 1860 and Andrew Johnson in 1867. Then there have been also other, like Thomas Jefferson and John Tyler. And there have been also other presidents who have been impeached, but the Congress has voted against the impeachment. One is Ulysses S. Grant, which was one of the presidents that was, I think, was after Lincoln or before Lincoln, something like that. Grover Cleveland, Herbert Hoover, and there are a few names that maybe you recognize more. Ronald Reagan,
Mhm.
I think you know. George H.W. Bush, which is the father, and George W. Bush, which is the son. And also Joe Biden. Joe Biden have been involved in an impeachment resolution. But anyway, the House has voted against. The same it applies also for Lyndon B. Johnson, and we should have the drums rolling. Barack Obama. Barack
He
Obama,
was
they
under
tried.
impeachment.
No, they tried to impeach him, but the Congress, the full House, has refused the impeachment state. I think you can find on Wikipedia. Of course, I know Wikipedia is not the best source, but following the sources claimed down, most of them are official from the Congress resolution. So most of these are political data that are quite we can check them from the government of United States. I will
The
share.
point, what we are underestimating is that Trump passed through a one in a lifetime, well, maybe not in a lifetime because there has been also the world wars, but Donald Trump found himself into a pandemic. And now, when you are into a pandemic, you have options in front of you, and the option of the US government back then was to create stimulus to inject liquid, let's say, cash on the market, and he provided stimulus on 4 turns of around 2 trillions. Now, of course, you can have on the short term a good impact because people have more cash to spend, so the economy doesn't fall on itself. But you have the counterpart when you inject so much money, and you have the inflation. Now, now we still see the symptoms of the inflation, but
Yes.
unfortunately, I think that when a government, whatever government, even the Italian one, find himself under such a unique, particular, such the pandemic has been, it's difficult to judge an administration. Of course, Trump administration has also made, I think, good things. They tried to cut tax on from to a certain extent. The politic of Trump was to, his most famous statement, "Make America great again." Why? Because he felt that America, the US, was losing globally his status of a superpower. Now, maybe Davide can agree or disagree, but I think that the idea of Trump was to bring again US on the mouth of everyone, like that superpower which has internally and externally much influence.
Anyway, I would like to take a little advice from Jean-Luc that has replied to me in private and said we have been a bit out of topic.
Yeah.
which is true.
Yeah, the
So we are a
diagonal
bit
is
sorry. We should,
that's our
if
name.
we, if you make a question
That's
out
the
of the
reason of the
context,
name,
we
the
start
diagonal name.
So
we
I would
start
say
to.
let's skip some questions and let's come back to our
Let's come
topic.
back to the topic. I would just say we can continue. Davide, if you have the document, do you have the document in front of you?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if from the live you can watch, you can read properly. Can we start to introduce the second report point, which is background context before the crisis? This one I think is more important. Is more. I think you will like more because this is about a bit the history as well and the crisis background. Can
Yeah,
you read it?
So it is important to consider global agricultural commodity markets as things stood just prior to the invasion of Ukraine. This way, the volumes at risk can be compared to the global and local market situations as were forecast, and the impact from the crisis assessed. Shall I continue reading the
Yes, yes,
second
yes.
part?
Continue.
You can also comment. I mean, we do not have to read
The full.
frame by frame. Otherwise, tomorrow morning we will still be here reading and.
Yeah,
That's the
this is a
problem.
huge report. This is a 26-page
But I think
report.
we will.
We can
No,
go
I think that
next
we need to
graph.
take a point.
we need
We
to.
need to take a point.
Mhm.
No, I mean, but anyway, we won't finish reading it. I
If you
mean, tonight because
go,
it's
I will go to the
27
next
points.
page.
So
Anyway,
Mhm.
we will
okay.
go to the next page. Don't go far. Okay. Next page here, as you can see, we can see the graph and try to understanding a bit. Here it shows the global market prior the crisis 2021-2022 year-on-year exchange global supply. As we can see, so on the 0% is put the time, no? Ciro is put the time 21,
Yeah.
22.
Yeah, what I'm trying to understand if by percentage they mean, because you see they separate the production and the
Production and
stock.
stocks. But this is, I think, is Legenda.
Mhm.
I think is more related. I think we should more understand how um the time, because the time in this graph doesn't look a lot.
Yeah.
Doesn't show. This is summary. Okay, let me see here. I can see Bartley, 20% minus. Okay. So the stock and the production.
But they use the stock, as it say here, as a ratio that indicates the
Overstock of
level.
the percentage of total demand or use. Okay, this is the demand. So,
Mhm.
okay, we have the demand and we have the use of the stocks and percentage. Okay, not very interesting and not very important topic at the moment. This is down here. We have the estimation, the next graph, which is
Yeah.
another interesting point to understand. And here this what has happened, it says at a certain point, as you can see, and how this affected the agriculture. So 8 years after the annexation of the Crimea, Russia declared the recognition of the two separatist states of Donetsk and Luhansk, that we call Donbass, on the 23rd February 2022. After weeks of military build-up on the border, the Russian army entered Ukraine to start a special military operation, ignoring all sanctions previously imposed. On 24 February, Russia began a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This has resulted in the European Union, United States of America, and United Kingdom, along with the various other countries, to announce sanctions against Russia and its association. To below, the timeline summarizes the various key events in the progression of the crisis and ramification around the world. So we can make a little summary if you want. Here it shows the first date. We have 23 of February. Russia declared recognition of independent republics of Donetsk and Luhansk. The EU imposed travel bans and asset freeze on important Russian individuals. Germany halts the approval of the Nord Stream 2, which is an important point, this one, because of course blocking Nord Stream 2 has led Germany to have a huge energy crisis. This is the reason why even now, yeah, they are planning, they will continue to shut down the nuclear plant, energy power plant, and they will open some old energy plant that take so some old power plant that use as energy the coal. The main problem, the coal, where do you buy the coal? Because the coal that you have to buy, the biggest exporter of coal is Russia, and then Ukraine. So this is another huge issue that Germany will face. 2024 February, we have the invasion. The invasion begins. Russian military enters in Ukraine to conduct a special operation. The US imposed the sanction via Russia-related CAPTA. Yes. The Russia-related CAPTA directive, which blocked the financial activities of Russia and Belarusian banks, people, and entities. It also restricted export of sensitive technologies which benefit Russia's military and aerospace capabilities. They blocked also the Belarusian, as you can see here. I don't know if you have noticed today the meeting of Putin and in Belarus. Did you see Did you see it
today?
Yeah,
No.
today I think it was on Mentana. Mentana was talking about,
Was there a meeting?
and it was so funny.
Was there a meeting?
And it was a official conference. The Belarusian president didn't talk at all. He was just there watching around. He was doing like, okay.
Yeah, like
He came at home.
And maybe he
That's
forgot
extremely
maybe he forgot the script that Putin prepared for him.
No, I think he just couldn't
I think
say
in
anything.
Belarus they also speak Russian, or
They
there
speak
is
Russian.
They speak Russian.
They speak
dialect. I
Russian.
don't know.
So there's no
Anyway,
point to have this
did you
country
watch
called
the
Belarus.
video?
Just take it as a Belarus Russia. Anyway,
you
there
want
are
to
many
make
sanctions, as we can see here. A lot of sanction.
Yeah, we cannot go through all of
We
them.
cannot go through all of them. Would be too much.
otherwise
Um,
it's gonna be
I think let's focus. Let's come back on what was, let's say, the main analysis of this live tonight. That was related to the agriculture. Let's say, because
and okay.
let's be diagonal on this topic, um, because otherwise it's very easy to lose the focus, let's say, on the topic. So if you go a bit down, precisely at
Which
where it
page?
is, it's around page 10. There is the agricultural commodities market.
This one.
Yeah, but anyway, even
The
if we
macro
don't,
fallout. No, the macro fallout is about the currency.
no, page
This one
10,
you mean? This one you
it's
mean?
the
The
agricultural commodities
federation, the
market.
federal and loan. This one.
No, if you go up, this is page 10.
Yeah, it's page 10.
You see down this agricultural commodities market. I will not prefer to tackle tonight also the
Of
bonds
course.
and the government bonds, because otherwise
We
it
get
becomes
fucked
too vast.
up. Exactly. We are not I'm not
And
an
then
expert.
we receive again the message on WhatsApp that we are going out of topic.
It became our meme on our episode 0. We have
Going out of
let's see,
topic.
WhatsApp feedback.
Yeah, we can do. We can make a focus to call it out of topic. So,
Yes,
we write the title, but we discuss completely something else.
we do. It's funny. All right.
So
So
let's 1 second think on what
yeah.
it can be the micro and the micro and macro impact on. First of all, what the sanction is brought in terms of ban. For example, we know that the UK has banned the Russia ships. They will not accept any ship which flag, let's say, the Russian flag.
Mhm.
And
I think
this
they are not accepted everywhere. I think they are blocked everywhere.
everywhere. Oh, okay.
I think they are blocked. I mean, if they were already in some countries in Europe, they cannot depart to other seaports. And I think also they are taken by the police. Um, sorry.
Let's think 1 second to this. So let's talk by hypotheses or scenarios. We have wheat, corn, soybeans, sunflowers. Okay. Now let's imagine a specific country which highly demand this kind of product because of cultural and traditional, like, food representative. I was thinking, like, today, that there are certain countries, I don't remember which one, in Africa, which highly, if not totally, depends from the import
Egypt
of
probably.
Egypt. For okay, perfect. Okay, so let's talk about Egypt. And let's imagine a scenario. Now, I am the country, I'm Egypt. I can't receive any more products that I use daily on a nation basis. Okay? I can't produce bread. I can't feed cows. I can't feed whoever, I don't know, animals that I
Milk.
use to produce, also to produce milk, to produce meat. Now, I am a citizen. This has a huge impact on the economy of Egypt, taking aside the tourism impact on the GDP. What do I do? If I'm in a critical condition, I do not receive this primary material anymore. What do I do? If I have the possibility, I go away from the country. So we do not have anymore a problem of Ukrainians that flee Ukraine, but by impact, we have also other countries that, due to the crisis developed because of the invasion of Russia, flee their countries. It's an indirect effect. It's a bit like during COVID, people dying of cancer just because they couldn't receive good treatment because of COVID. It's a side effect, but yet important. So,
Yes, true.
how many 100,000 people, if this stuff goes on, if this war goes on, will not be able to provide for their activities? How many activities in Africa, in Egypt, for example, are purely based on production of desserts that needs like the wheat, the grain, the oats? Or you see, the scale of this impact is so big we can't even state it because it would be too long to discuss about it.
Of course,
What
but
what I
we.
want to what I want to focus about it is the geopolitics of the side effect impact of this invasion.
Mm,
Because what's going on in Ukraine is clear as sun, and it's under the eyes of everyone. But how
mm,
would it impact the other countries? Of course, it would be unlikely to see an Italian leaving Italy because we don't receive the wheat.
mhm.
It's more probable that an Italian will leave Italy because he cannot pay the bill anymore for gas. And that's one point.
But this one we are going in a different kind of topic. Um,
But you
as
see,
we have to understand that, of course, this kind of situation will affect all of us. Will affect our country, will affect our people, our life, even our current life. For example, I had over 250 euros of electricity bill due to the electricity price that has been risen by the company due to the current difficulties. Um, but the point is, we have our experience as people, but this kind of situation will affect a generation of people. The world won't be the same anymore. You know what I mean? If tomorrow, for example, we want to go to Russia, to go to Moscow, to St. Petersburg, or to Kaliningrad, to have like an holiday, because anyway, St. Petersburg is a beautiful city. You cannot say that is not a beautiful place. You won't be able to go. And the new generation will live again in a kind of generation in a different way. For example, we born about 90s, okay, in 1991, 1992, 1993, and later. Uh, till now, for us, moving around the world, in particular the Euro-Asiatic continent, it was quite easy. We couldn't say there was, a country on the other side that would be enemy of me. You know what I mean?
Well,
Uh, like, for example, maybe my parents have experienced
I don't
because,
know
yeah, because
because
before
because
when there was the.
our generation couldn't travel to Iraq, for example, to
I understand, of course, new
Afghanistan or
generation. Okay, but I'm not talking
to
about.
Syria.
Okay,
I
I'm
mean,
not talking about those
also our
countries.
generation built such a wall
Yeah, but
between our society and the West society and the Middle East society.
of course,
You know,
in your
cultural
case,
barrier,
especially, but I mean, I'm talking
political.
about a wall in Europe. I mean, you know what I mean? Having a new wall, because this will be a new wall, guys. After this war, maybe when maybe there will be an Ukraine Est and a Ukraine Ovest, like
We have
was
to wait.
Germany, because I think this is what will happen. Uh, we won't be able to move to Russia. We will see another wall like our parents did till
We have to
1991.
wait
You
what
know what I
it's going to
mean?
happen
1989, 1990.
because we
So
don't
I
know.
mean,
We don't know. We have to wait
we don't know, but this is
for the war
I think
to stop
where we are
and
going to.
negotiations. Negotiations. most will depend on the negotiations between
The
Russia and the
negotiation, I
United
don't
States.
think. Yes, okay, there will be Russian and United States
Because
negotiation,
we,
but
as
Russia, but
you
United
said,
States doesn't care. United States doesn't care because
they,
their focus is China. Their focus is China. So we have to understand that Americans they don't care anymore.
yeah, but um, they have been very hazardous, Americans, because of course they can get several advantages by letting this war going on. But
They
they are
will.
risking,
They will
they are
make like
risking,
a Syria 2.0.
they are, they are risking a very high, high instability level in Europe. They
But they don't
can't.
care. They don't care. They don't care.
Well, European Union is an important market
For
for
them, no.
for the US.
It's not true. It's not true. It's not important market to US, no more than the Pacific coast, because Japan, India, Australia, and Malaysia have more people than Europe all together, all combined, and they represent the huge future market of of the US. We can talk about it, even seeing the situation of the liquefied gas.
Mhm.
We will compete with South Korea, Japan, India, Malaysia, some Latin American countries to get 1 billion of barrels of liquefied gas, which means nothing compared with what Russia was giving to us. Nothing. And we have to compete for that with the other countries. Of course, people will say, but the price won't be so high. I don't think so. I don't think will be
That's
the
why
same price of the money we were paying to Russia. But anyway, we are talking about less than one on 30th, 1/30 of the full amount of the Russia gas that Italy only was
that's why
importing.
European Union should make its own decision.
The European Union
Its own
should make
decision.
only
They
one
can't,
decision. Should make only one decision to say to all the single countries. I would be very populist in this. I'm sorry to be very direct and populist. To fuck off. Say, stop having your own country. You are fucking part of a federation. You have to give up on your nation.
it won't be
You have to give
possible.
up on your local government and let us take all the fucking decision for the European. This is what we should do.
Yeah, but
But this will
European
never
Union is
happen.
made up of
And I
states. I mean, it's not possible because von
no,
der
it's
Leyen,
possible. It's possible
who,
because this kind of
who represents
process. But
von der
come on,
Leyen,
guys, we have to talk about the history. Okay, in the history, we have noticed that
we
the
are not like the United
United
States.
States. No, we are like the United States. The only
We need
difference
some.
with the United
No, we
States,
need more reforms. Now
we
we
need
are
more
not
reforms
like the United States.
because,
We
but we
need,
need more reforms. Why? You know
but
why? Because
you
we have
can't.
a strong historical and cultural boundaries.
But
We are too attached to our culture
do you think
to
that the
don't give
right
up and making something
do
more.
you think that the right parties like Lega in Italy or Orban party they will let European Union implementing this kind of reforms?
But if they will, but I think you know what? Even
Orban.
you're not talking about the single people, guys. As I have
But
to,
Orban is voted by
I have to
people.
take the word of Fabri. The leaders are useless if there is not a population that have the same thought. Okay, so and this is true. But the main problem, I'm pretty sure, not even one Hungarian, not even one fucking Friulan or Venetian or that it votes for Lega would be able to accept to exchange freedom of living in a country where there are many opportunities with becoming part of the Russia. because this is the risk. We don't have to forget that Russia was very close to Italian border in the past. Slovenia, Serbia, Albania, ex-Yugoslavian Republic.
Yeah, the
What do you
problem is
think? What do you think?
the problem is
Santo is arrived! Fantastic. This one is the history of the chipset Intel. It's very important. Anyway, we will talk about chipset in another episode. I think we have to focus a bit more on chipset.
And
In
what
that
if,
case,
talking about Europe, what if now Le Pen overtake Macron? He now
ah,
let's compare the two. So
that's a good example to
Macron is a pro-European countries, and he absolutely wants France to stay in NATO. Le Pen is exactly the opposite. She has never hidden her, let's say, Putin-friendly votes, and she has repeatedly say that she wants to make like a French exit, or like Brexit, whatever, but for French, for France, and she would like France out of NATO. How would this is a question for you to think about it and to discuss? How would Europe react on losing France, which is one of the pioneers of the European community? How would it be if Le Pen overtake Macron? I hope not. And all of a sudden, in a few years, we see France out of Europe. Don't care about NATO for the moment, just out of Europe. Don't you think that Poland or, for example, Hungary will follow France out of Europe?
that might be a risk, but in my opinion, France will never take this choice. Will never go through this crucial step. It would be too dramatic for them as well, because actually they have such such a potential rule within European Union. You know, I mean they have they play an important role. They have they are an important actor. So
I think
why
if they become the new face of the Europe, this war again, as I told you also in private, no, the entrance of the Ukraine will lead many other countries to ask to join to the Europe with a simplified pathway. We have to remember that there are other 3 countries that won't join the EU. One is
Much
Turkey.
more than 3. Much more than 3.
I know, but most of them are the Balkanian countries.
Yeah, indeed.
Indeed. And Turkey. Now, Turkey won't join because for Turkey, being in the current geopolitical position is an advantage because they have the strongest army of the NATO after the Americans. They have the biggest fleet, the Navy fleet in the Mediterranean area. So if they join to the EU, they won't be able to make their plan of the new Ottoman Empire. Okay? Because this is the reality. On the other side, we have Albania, we have Serbia, we have ex-Yugoslavia, all the countries of the ex-Yugoslavia, Montenegro, we have also Kosovo, that if they want to join to the Europe, as the Ukraine will do, they will ask to get inside in a different way, in a quicker way. I've spoken with you about that in the past. You know, there was the big theory of making 2 Eurozone. The Eurozone 1 and the Eurozone 2 with the 2 different euros, with 2 different debts. Remember that we are making also steps to make the European Agency for Debt. when we will have two different euros, and when we will have two different areas of Europe, like the South Europe, which includes Italy, Greece, some potential Balkanian countries, Portugal and Spain, and another part of Europe, the richest part, which is France, Germany, and of course the Nordics in some way, and the part of the East Europe. Because the East Europe, Poland, for example, we underestimated Poland, but Poland is a huge factory of Europe.
Poland is,
Okay,
as per now, the factory of Europe.
Exactly. So we have to think about that this situation will lead us to have a new Europe where there will be European of top league and European of lower league. So this is the only way how some nationalism parties, national parties like Lega, Le Pen party, Orban party. Remember also in Netherlands there is another party which was very Eurosceptic in the last election and they lost. In Germany there is an Eurosceptic movement too that has been that is rising quite a lot in the last years. Even Merkel had to make a deal with them in the government to continue to have the majority of the Bundesbank, the German parliament, Bundestag. So we have to think that the Euroscepticism will take this war and this incapacity of the Europe to offer a common solution. I mean, like we go all in war or not, in a way that can turn against the European Union.
But
we have to be very careful with this situation.
For me, it's not sustainable to have a Europe which run at two different speeds. Why? Because you must always think that countries are entities which goes above any humankind, at least until the earth will survive.
Okay.
So if you have two-side Europe in which one goes at one speed and the other one has always struggled to follow up, you will arrive at a certain point in several years in which you will start having conflicts among countries which should belong to the same sphere, to the same area, but in reality are completely different. You will start having countries which partner up, even on a commercial side, commercial partnership. Why? Just to try to follow up on the speed on the other side of Europe. So for me, in the long run, having a two-speed side Europe is not feasible. And that's why I hope they won't realize such a thing, even because, let's think about it. Where does Italy will place in a two-speed Europe? I don't think it will place into the first one.
No, Italy will be the top speed or the second top in the lower speed one. The Spain, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the Spain will be in the top speed because the Spain is crucial for feeding the Europe. Spain and Netherlands are crucial for feeding Europe. They are one of the most agriculture manufacturer of the Europe. So being in the top tier of the Europe, of the Eurozone, will be beneficial for them.
It won't be sustainable. Consider now von der Leyen, she went visiting Zelensky, which is a gesture that I highly appreciated.
So Zelensky has said no to the German instead, to Frank.
And the von der Leyen brought to Zelensky this questionnaire to evaluate on a fast track the entrance of Ukraine in Europe. Now, it's not feasible to allow Ukraine entering in a separated Eurozone in which you have countries that now it's something which won't happen. I hope that I won't be alive when it will happen, honestly. But coming back to the situation. No, we have now, because it's a kind of news that passed on a second stage because of the war. But these elections in France will somehow determine also the course of the history on top of what's going on in Ukraine. Now,
It depends. For sure, the French have made a statement against Macron politics. I think Macron in the last few years has focused a lot on the external politics, on the politic of the France in the world as a proto new empire, instead of caring over the people. And you know how the French they are. If something doesn't go well for them, they fucked everything up. They are
Macron
not
was very popular.
like Italian.
Macron was very popular until he supported this kind of job act in which he caused
Yes.
the revolution of the famous yellow gilet. So people went on the
Yes,
street.
I remember. But the Gilet was they were against the war, the Macron, against Macron.
And
So
he lost a substantial part of the
he lost.
support.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, in the history of France elections, it never happened that at the first turn you have a president which reached the majority of the votes and already wins the election. So it's against like in 2017, in which you have Macron and Le Pen side by side, 23%, 27%. So look that now Le Pen took a lot of ground over Macron, and it's something which, of course, the war between the war of Russia on Ukraine, it will always remain the main topic. But what we will go on from now on with this election, it would impact also the situation in Ukraine, because if Le Pen should overtake on Macron, even the situation of Ukraine can change within Europe. And at least in my opinion, is in the interest of Europe and Ukraine to have Ukraine on board. Because Europe has choose a side, and we are supporting Ukraine as much as we can, not at the best of our possibilities, because we could do more. But now that we sided with Ukraine, and Italy declared that by 2027 we will completely be free of Russia gas exports and stuff.
Especially after today, they strengthened the relationship with Algeria. I think the Algeria will ask for something back. There was an article of Limes not many months ago where it was written that the Algeria wanted to expand the economical exclusive area till the coast of Sardinia. So, which means I think this new this renewal of the treaty with of the agreement with Algeria for the gas has led to also something like that. I think Algeria will be will expand the economical area till
Algeria for
Sardinia.
Algeria for Italy is an old partner which is now taking the opportunity to renew the partnership.
Yes,
but
in
the early 2000s, in the early 2000s, in Italy, we were importing tons of gas from Algeria when Nord Stream 2 was not even in the dream.
We still is about I think was about 6 billion per year, 6 billion per year, I think, from Algeria. David, you can check maybe the data. How much gas we used to import from Algeria and how much we get now. The new one should be up to 9 billion, but the previous one should have been 6 billion, if I not remember well. Davi, are you online?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you are so quiet. Anyway, Santo, welcome.
Hi
Yeah,
guys,
We
he's
have
I was
Hi,
just
Santo.
listening because I have different point of view about all of your stories, etc. And the point is that all of mine could be too much full of stereotypes, but I have experience, and actually I'm in connection with people from Russia, Ukraine. I know their point of view, and there are a lot of things that are totally different about the media and what they propose as a prospect of this war. Is more something a little bit different. Is more connected with Chechnya and Belarusia in the past and what's happened there and the people that are living in that area, and that even Russian, even Putin cannot, I don't know how to say, take property of that people, take that people under control. They are uneducated people, totally. Think about that. You are living the last 20 years without any education except war,
Mm,
totally. And
mhm,
they ask actually benefits. The point of Russia is that they had the last 2 years of COVID and they get fucked about this because they cannot produce so much. People cannot go there at work, etc. And
mm,
they lose a lot. And they have to make new agreement about gas and about other things. The point in that case about what I heard from Russian friends, they all of them actually they are using VPN, etc., and they have access and they can talk with you about these things. Is that they wanted to change that agreement because they had huge impact about I don't know, is a huge conversation about this. Antonio, if you know, if you remember, I talked to you about these things. For example, what's happening in
yeah,
Russia, etc., and their
yeah. No,
lifestyle
you know
is
people
like
from
a
there. I think as
different universe.
Santo, if you introduce a bit yourself, Santo
Hmm.
has been a traveler,
I was a
proper
traveler
one,
because
a
yeah,
proper one, somebody that stay in a country for a few months, for a year.
yes, because it's like
So
with the IIG, an association that I was secretary in that, and I did
yeah,
a lot of travel, and have experience about
like ONG,
especially
yeah,
them. Hmm?
especially
Like
like
is the
ONG.
association that created the Erasmus movement
Okay,
in
the
Europe.
idea, yes,
First started
yes.
IG,
Davide
and after
as well is related with some association.
I was part of Isaac. Yeah, different.
no,
Isaac. Okay.
Santo. What I am interested in to know from you is where do you see your ideas to differ to what we said so far? Because for me, what
About
is very interesting is
no,
to
I
understand
didn't.
to have different. Because you say I have a different point of views compared to what you said so far. So what is important for us is also to give voice to a different opinion. So please feel free to share
The
whatever
only
you disagree
my
with.
opinion as I say, as a listener from here, because I was doing also other things, so I wasn't connect all time. I changed it a lot. That I saw that you took prospect from media more. So just one way, and that prospect is like, but by data analysis that was like previous about a kind of past. But for example, you don't know that Russian people are a kind of people that they don't have. I don't know how to say, more than the second generation in that town. Is a kind of people that move a lot. They change their market so easily. They changed their market in the last 5 years totally. They changed it. For example, they in the past they used it like to boil and to use that things, but just for a kind of food. But now in the last 5 years, they discovered the Chinese food. And their Chinese food in Siberia is perfect because they have to boil just some things and they have and this ready food. They don't have to do pasta or other
So
things
you
that they
are
lose
telling
time,
us that
etc.
they have
So
a
about
strengthened their relationship with China,
yes,
and
exactly.
this reflect also in the lifestyle of the people, which are more used to eat Chinese food, using Chinese products and things like that. I think this is partially true. Um, for example, this is is a bit out of topic, but in some way maybe it's correct. My phone, for example, is a typical Chinese phone. This phone doesn't exist out of China, but unless I have a model. But this phone exists also in Russia. And has a lot of Russian support. In fact, I had to use some Russian software to unlock it and make it more European. And it's easy to see how many Chinese manufacturers offer their products to Russia before then exporting them to other countries. This phone doesn't exist in Europe. Maybe I'm the only one who has this model in Europe, or maybe other 10 people, but very huge fan. But this phone exists a lot in Russia, whereas a lot of share, and the same in China. So I mean, this can be also maybe a small thing, but it can be like a way to represent what Santo was telling to us about the big
maybe
connection.
I missed the point, but still I don't see where is this. So the news that we shared are yes covered by the news, but which information we covered about the news? The only thing that we mentioned in this live is one of the topics that they brought up is about the agricultural problem that we will face. But on top of that, we haven't touched anything about Russian way to eat the Chinese food. I don't remember that we mentioned anything about that.
No.
The- no, I want to. What is the takeover of? What is your disagreement with what we mentioned? Because I think that by jumping from our overall discussion, you might have took some piece here, some piece there, and thought we were covering some news over the TV.
Exactly.
I think that all of us here has somehow connection with Russia and with Ukraine. Me also, but the point that we were trying to tackle in this live was related to what's going to be the impact now that Ukraine and Russia entered into this conflict. Russia entered in this conflict. Ukraine is trying to defend itself. How it's going to be the impact on the exports of agricultural products, and that was one of the subject that has been covered from the news. Because and what we were trying to do here tonight is to understand what's hypothetically can happen now that there are countries which highly depends from the imports of these kind of products, and how this will geopolitically change our way to live our life. Because it's not anymore a problem, it's mainly the problem of Ukraine, but there are countries which highly depends from such products, which will struggle to live their normal life without receiving these products. Related to the situation of Russia, I know that there are Russians with the VPN that can interact with us, and I think that it's also in our let's say way to discuss about this diagonal project to invite Russians to have also their perspective. Russia is an extremely huge continent. Of course, they received influence from China. And of course, China in this moment is doing let's see how the situation is going on. Because they didn't take a side, at least not openly, as far as we know, because we can't believe what we see in the TV about nothing. Personally, if we need to discuss deeply the subject, we need to discuss about the real news. So what we really know from what's going on in Ukraine. And the only people that can tell what's going on in Ukraine are Ukrainians. Because even Russians, they have their side of the story, which is slightly different from what Ukrainians are living. Then, of course, there are Russians and Russians.
So
There are
today,
Russians
for
which-
example, in 8 e mezzo, no, the TV program made by Lee Gruber, there was a Russian journalist, okay, Lily Gruber was very shitty with her anyway. But this lady, she was clearly saying this is a special mission to free the Ukraine from Nazis because you're fucking European, you don't understand
Lily
that.
Gruber said that.
No, the Russian lady,
Oh,
the Russian lady. Lily Gruber stopped there at a certain point. Because you're
Actually,
European, you
all the
just
journalists
see
in
what's
Vatic from
one
Russia, they
side,
said the same
and you don't
things.
see the real photo, the real news. I've been to Mariupol, and I made the picture how the Azov were taking,
the Azov, the
were
famous
coming
Azov.
bad against the Russian,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
giving any food, making them bleeding on the street and things. Anyway, I think maybe some Nazism crime can have be done. I want to say that they are not, because anyway, if it's even in Italy we had Forza Nuova, we have Casa Pound, and they are violent, very violent with some
Yeah,
people.
but it's different from the Azov.
No. Okay, Azov, of course,
Mm.
as an army, but imagine
In
if
term-
Forza Nuova
terms of
and Casa
numbers.
Pound had an army. Imagine if they could have an army, they would have
Just
fucked up
to take this point,
like in Muslim.
I don't know if you're aware, but Japan or Australia, I'm not sure, I don't remember, I think it's Japan, no? They recently delisted Azov out of terrorism battalions, and they apologized to Azov. Now, if you speak with the Russian, which are highly subject to the government news, they will always tell you the same script. The Azov, the biological bombs, they will always tell you the same things. You must
Yes,
take this
true.
information carefully, and you need to analyze from a critical perspective, because of course in Otto e Mezzo, it's a very famous Italian talk show. Of course they need to make audience, so they need